So you mentioned the Druze community, the importance of their role in this very complex equation. Tell us more about what we need to know about the Druze.
Well, when it comes to the Druze, what's particular about them is that they are transnational as well as national associations, right? So the Druze are a community that's basically centered around the Jabal Druze, the Druze Mountains, and Mount Lebanon, okay? So if you look at a map of where this community is located in the Middle East, they're spread across three international borders. In Israel, they're mostly in the northern Galilee region and the Golan Heights, which Syria annexed from Israel in 1967. In Lebanon, they're centered around Mount Lebanon, and they play an important role in Lebanese politics. In Syria, they are mostly in the Suwaida province that we were talking about, but you also have Druze community members living in the southern suburbs of Damascus, for instance. So, the Druze community may have different passports, different nationalities, but there's something that binds them, and that's this religion, right? And suddenly, we are all exposed to this, this offshoot of Shiism of the 12th century. It's a very esoteric religion. The structures of the religion are such that lay people are not given the wisdom of this religion. That is left to the sheikhs, the big clerics. And there are 5 big sheikhs. They're called sheikhs al-Aql, the sheikhs of wisdom. And here's where they are based. So Syria has 3 sheikhs al-Aql. There's 1 in Israel and 1 in Lebanon. Now, what is particular about Syria, about what's happening, is that these religious leaders are being forced to turn into political leaders, right? Now, unlike in Lebanon, for instance, where they have a Sheikh al-Aql, but there is a politician. And, if you're as old as us, or as me, most people will remember the Lebanese Druze politician Walid Yumblatt, So he is not a religious leader, but he's a politician, and a very wily politician. Through the Lebanese civil war, he maneuvered all the players, but everybody understood that he was looking out for the Druze community interests. In Israel, the Druze are very integrated in the Israeli state, and in some ways, they are even pushing what's happening in the Middle East today. They have Knesset members, they even have cabinet ministers, and they serve in the Israeli army. In Syria, what happens with the Assad for half a century was that these sheikhs were just put under patronage. They were paid stipends, given houses, in return for loyalty to the big man in Damascus. What Syria now needs are political figures in order to work representative democracy. Because what we saw in the past 48 hours are literally one sheikh declaring a ceasefire, in this case, Sheikh Yusuf Jabru, declaring a ceasefire, only for that ceasefire to be rescinded by Sheikh Hikmat al-Hijri. And Hikmat al-Hijri, this is a sheikh that everybody is watching because he's very opposed to Damascus, and people who are suspicious think that he's getting too close to Israel. So, this is a dynamic in Syria that's going to be extremely hard to unwind. Then there are militias. These Druze militias erupted during the Syrian civil war. There is a Suwaida military council that basically appears to be answering to Sheikh Hikmat. There needs to be a demobilization. We all know that. There are all armed fighters there. But in order for that to happen, you need local politicians to represent the community, because as it is, the community has very valid fears about, the Sunni Muslims, who they fear are Sunni Islamists, controlling the entire country. And this is why, pressure needs to be brought if Syria needs to be stable, because if Syria remains weak, we're going to see a very, very dangerous time in a very volatile region.
Clashes continuing in Syria. Leela Jacinto with the analysis. Thank you very much indeed. As always, Leela, our international affairs editor. We are watching, of course, for all developments on the ground in Syria, where we understand Bedouin and Druze clashing once again. Some 500 lives been lost since last weekend in the on-off conflict that is going on there on the ground. And thanks again to Leela for that analysis. Great to see you.